Hi, it's Dennis Daly. Over the years, I did quite a few shows with the Salvation Army, most of the time at their headquarters and their various operations in San Francisco. During Christmastime 1997, the Army and Planet Hollywood invited me to do my show from downtown San Francisco to commemorate the bell ringing which started on the docks there. And the first person I wanted to talk to was the San Francisco area commander, Richard Love.
I'm the divisional commander of the Gola State Division, which is the geographic area of San Francisco, the West Bay, down to Santa Clara, over to Modesto, down to Bakersfield, and then up over the coast and up.
Now, you've been here how long?
I came here July 1st.
Okay. So you were not the fellow whom I interviewed who was having a meeting during the earthquake in your new offices here, and I finally got...
No, I'm not he.
Colonel, we think of the Salvation Army so much doing charity work. There's so many aspects. It is a Christian sect. We sometimes forget that. But what I want to ask is this. Everybody comes out and volunteers this time of year. What is the need like between the holiday seasons? What would you say to people about what needs you're going to have after all the Christmas gifts are put away and all the wrappings thrown out?
Well, the need, of course, is continual, and it's 12 months, 365 days, every day, night and day. What the focus is at Christmas time, of course, this is our big shot for our major fundraising period. So the money raised through the various means at Christmas really helps our programs throughout the year. Most of our programs could use volunteer help as well during the other intervening 11 months. A lot of help at Christmas time, but in January 1st, February 1st, we also need help.
There are so many cutbacks going on within government. I would think it's a double-edged sword for you. Not only are groups having less money to spend, but then those cutbacks in turn put people out of work who are knocking on your door.
Yeah, we're hit both ways. On the one hand, we have people in government like Mr. Ginwich who says the private sector ought to be doing all this, and we're not in disagreement with that. It's just that we don't have the money to do it all. In some, we are trying to develop innovative programs. For example, we just got a grant from the Irvine Foundation for 4 major areas in California, in our area, Modesto, where we're working with government money and Irvine Foundation money to actually take welfare clients, give them on-the-job training, interviewing, whatever, so that they are actually, it's a back-to-work kind of program. So we're trying to meet the need by filling in the gaps in those areas.
I want to put a word in here to have you talk to, and that's the word dignity. We're talking about self-esteem here. I remember spending some time on this program several years ago with Patrick Granat, whose facility is in one of the worst parts of San Francisco. He was telling me the importance of a clean bed, a shower, cleaning the clothes, to give the people who may be without a home or have limited housing a sense of self-worth more than just giving them a flop house.
Very important, because so much has to do with the person's feelings of dignity, self-worth, self-identity. And if you're not feeling good about yourself, then you're not going to be productive in society regardless of what you try. And a lot of our clients are unable to hold jobs for that very reason, because when they go home, there's no home to go to, and they come back the next morning dirty, scrungy, whatever. So it doesn't last very long. So part of our program is doing that.
Well, even getting a job, I mean, I cannot imagine what it would be like to see an ad in the paper for a job you're qualified, but know that you don't have a chance to bathe before you go apply for it.
Exactly, and that goes back to the origins of the Army in 1865 in London, England, where William Booth had the very same problem. Said, how can you reach a man's soul unless if he's hungry and dirty and needs a place to stay? So from that very beginning, we started.
Colonel, I was having a discussion with someone before going on the air here about, I wonder how many people really know that the 12 days of Christmas start on Christmas rather than end on Christmas. This whole secularization of it, the whole thing, people say they've taken the Christ out of Christmas.
Yeah.
But can you talk about the religious aspect of the holiday just for a moment and how that ties in with family?
Oh, yeah, easily, because underlying all that we do, whether it's giving a homeless person a meal or a clean bed or whatever, or feeding senior citizens who come to our programs, or whatever we do, is motivated by the fact that we are a Christian organization and we seek to serve Christ. And through the Christmas season particularly, it's important to focus on the fact that there's more to it than just getting and giving. That really it's motivated on the Christian principles of family and solidarity and love and all that's tied together in the religious underpinnings.
Now, on the other hand, a great number of people whom you deal with are members of Islam, Shinto, Buddhist, from various other faiths, particularly in the Oriental cultures. Is it difficult to work with them, a child maybe whose parents are from the old school, yet this child is playing basketball at one of your facilities? How does that all work? It would seem to be a really interesting mix here.
It is, and we always take the position that we never try to force our religion on anybody. It's available, and it motivates what we do. But if a person is from another faith or no faith at all, then we respect that, and we don't try to force them into our lifestyle or our beliefs. And we think it's important to give the service regardless of what the person's orientation is.
Colonel, one other thing. Are you seeing cutbacks within your ranks? Are you... Every organization I talk to, whether it be profit or non-profit, seems to, unfortunately, having to be giving out pink slips to people.
We haven't. It's hard to generalize because each situation is different. But here in San Francisco, we have not yet faced that problem. We're not hiring amazing amounts of people either, but we haven't been able to. We've been able to maintain so far.
Do you know whether it is worse in small towns? I mean, there are a lot of what you might call Salvation Army outposts out there.
Yeah. I think that's generally true. The larger the population base, the better the funding is. And in small towns, it's particularly difficult because people are stretched to the limit already.
Well, Colonel, Merry Christmas and thank you for your good works.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you.
Lowrey Puccinelli is the Regional Director of Public Relations for Planet Hollywood. I asked her what it was like for an organization such as hers to get involved with fundraising and to align itself with the folks at the Salvation Army.
Well, we love it, especially around the holidays. Our company obviously is very successful, and because of the people that we have who back us up, every single one of our celebrity shareholders, and I'm talking, and this is in addition to Bruce, Arnold, Sly, and who's the other one? Sorry, yeah.
I'm trying to think of it myself.
No, Bruce, Whoopi, Bruce, Arnold, and Demi. And, in addition to them, I think every single celebrity that's involved in this restaurant, which is a ton, all has a charity of choice that either through personal circumstances or for working purposes really donates their time. So, when they put their name behind a restaurant like Planet Hollywood, we are encouraged greatly by our upper management to do charity things.
I think, too, and I hope you'll agree with me, the Salvation Army is the one group about which I've never heard anyone say anything bad.
No, they're great. I mean, they're the most accommodating people. I work with everybody. These people are just the most accommodating, the most generous, the most giving people. It's in this day and age, it's very hard to find a group that doesn't want anything in return, and they don't want anything in return. They just want to help people.
I don't know whether you've met a gentleman named Patrick Granat, about my height with a beard. He runs the Salvation Army shelter in the Tenderloin, which is a really rough assignment. I did a show with him 4 or 5 years ago, and I just, for some odd reason, didn't want to leave. I just felt so absolutely wonderful down there. You're right, it's the personality of the people that makes all of this work.
Yeah, they're just, they're angels. There's so many people that are not willing to give 100%. These people give over 100%.
One other thing, what is it like when you have people who come in, maybe from small towns, and get into this whole aura of Planet Hollywood? You must get some interesting reactions.
We do, we definitely do. It's very funny. Since day one, we've been open for a little over 5 years now, our whole Planet Hollywood, but it's very funny to see the different reactions you get from, let's say, people from the Midwest to California. I mean, you and I can be walking down the street in San Francisco and Danny Glover will walk by and you go, oh, hey, there's Danny Glover. I'll get someone from Wichita, Kansas will come in and see Sharon Stone's pic from Basic Instinct, and they really feel like, oh my God, that's Hollywood. It's so much different than California and New York. You don't really get this sensation, but I had a family that came in here, family of 10, that their family vacations are based around Planet Hollywood locations, and they have merchandise from about 35. They've been to 35 Planet Hollywood locations.
Well, I think it's amazing. I shouldn't say this. I don't go to a lot of modern movies. But yet the memorabilia from the movies I do remember, back in the 40s and 50s and ones I've seen from the 30s, some of the dresses and the head things from Ben-Hur and everything, it is amazing.
Well, this boat right here, this bar area that we're standing by right now, actually a lot of times there's places in the restaurant that were designed around memorabilia. That is the original model for the boat in Ben-Hur. I mean, that's the original. That is worth thousands and thousands of dollars.
Well, let me explain. We're standing on kind of a balcony here, looking down onto the restaurant. This boat is maybe, 20 feet long?
Yeah.
It's obviously what they call a miniature, but it's not a very miniature.
No, you're right. And it's just so huge. Arnold actually came to San Francisco. In our window, we have his Turbo Man, and he actually did we're very indicative of memorabilia presentations, and came to San Francisco to donate that to San Francisco.
Well, you've got an amazing place here. Do you know how many restaurants you have in the U.S. now?
Yes. Oh, well, we have 60. We just opened one in Dublin last weekend and one in Rome the weekend before. So now we're up to 68. Domestically, we have 30. We're at about 32.
Well, Lowrey, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. This is great.
I walked up to a group of young people standing there, and I started talking to them, and they said, "Hey, your voice sounds familiar." Well, I ended up talking to, among other people, Matthew Pierce, who is with Family Radio on the West Coast. Family Radio uses a lot of material generated by United Press International, and I asked him to, if you haven't heard of Family Radio, to tell my listeners what it's all about.
We're based here in Oakland, California. We serve nationwide. There's 40 stations now. Most of the major markets here in the United States. Family Radio is a traditional Christian broadcast radio ministry, and we've got international broadcasting as well by shortwave.
Well, now, before we went on the air, Matthew and I were talking about the fact that they use a lot of the product UPI Radio does, and I've got to explain this for people at home, that we transmit individual pieces of information for stations to use that are called cuts. And the announcer who announces the numbers is myself. So this will probably ring a bell with Matthew when I say, cut 56.
And then you got that little tone that goes with it, too.
Yes.
I don't put this together, Dennis, but I hear it throughout the building. It just kind of pipes right in there. So
for some reason,
the secretaries and the janitors know your voice.
Wherever I go, people say, "Oh, you're the guy who says cuts." Cut 73. That's what I'll always be famous for, I guess. What is it like to be here in an area where at Christmas time, which of course for a Christian station is an important time of the year, the weather's good enough that you can get out, you're not slogging around the snow, everybody's out shopping, it's like a party downtown.
I'm freezing. What are you talking about? The weather's good.
Oh, I'm not. See, I just moved to the West Coast.
It's
I'm
about
still
50
warm.
degrees outside or something like that.
It would be 28 back home.
That's right. Nothing to complain about. I just came from Hawaii, though, so
darn you.
A little bit cold still. Yeah, no, it's a great place, and I think San Francisco epitomizes Christmas here at Union Square with all the beautiful trees and the Salvation Army, of course, their bright red kettles. Everyone seems to be in a pretty festive mood, not biting each other's head out, at least yet. This is a little early yet.
Well, you have something downtown here which is reminiscent of what people see in New York City, and that's the Macy's, the Bloomingdale's, Virgin Records, Planet Hollywood. You have a small area of downtown San Francisco which is very much like the old downtowns that a lot of cities don't have anymore.
That's right. Yeah, and you get the big buildings, and you got toy stores and little guys on the corner there that are saluting you as you walk by. So yeah, it gives you that old spirit of Christmas that you see in the old movies.
The other thing, too, we were talking earlier with someone else about the fact the Salvation Army is probably the only group I've never heard anything bad about, that you're able to affiliate yourself with a group which is inherently Christian. It is a Christian sect. I mean, it's registered as a Christian sect, but its whole basis of its giving is on the Christian tradition.
That's right. In fact, we just talked to, I think it's a lieutenant colonel of the Salvation Army for this region, and he went over that.
Colonel Love?
Colonel Love, you know.
Great name. I just interviewed him.
Yeah, so, I mean, as you said, it is based on Christianity, and they minister to people by working with their physical needs.
One final thing, Christian radio itself. I know a lot of formats have their ups and downs. Alive and well nationally?
I think Christian radio is just expanding incredibly. Yeah, you see new satellite organizations bringing their signals all around the United States. So I think Christian radio, people are really looking for values in their life, and many people are turning to Christian radio.
You know, the amazing thing, too, is if you're only a casual listener of Christian radio, the music is so wonderfully done. You can listen to Christian radio and not know it for a while. I mean, some of the music, well, a lot of the music, really, in melody, in the way it's put together, the musicianship rivals anything else you're going to hear anywhere.
Yeah, I think particularly this time of year, some of those things you just don't hear. I mean, Rudolph and Jingle Bells and all that's great, but you also I miss some of the more traditional Way in the Manger and the hymns that I grew up on, so I'm glad that we're able to provide that for everybody.
Matthew, thank you.
All right, Dennis, good to meet you.
Now you want to play, and then it's no.
Hey, what happened to the Christmas music? Well, a group called the Cats and Jammers is up on stage, and they're doing a variety of music. People are gathering around here in Union Square in downtown San Francisco. It is the celebrity bell ringing event for the Salvation Army. I ran into a gentleman here in Union Square, a fellow who's been around for a while, let's say that, holding a saxophone, a great white beard, in a Santa Claus outfit, but about 70 pounds too thin to be Santa.
Lowrey Walter Watkins.
And how long have you been a musician, sir?
About 62 years.
Well, you got a great voice, too. What is it like to take part in something like this? I mean, the Salvation Army is such a good organization.
Well, it brings a lot of happiness to everyone, and it also does a lot of good for those that are less fortunate than we are. So it makes you feel good all over.
You know, I heard some statistics lately, kind of sad ones, about how many musicians there are out there who don't have any pension plan, who are in the latter years of their career, who are having problems, and many of them rely on groups like the Salvation Army.
They do. They rely on the Salvation Army for food, for clothing, and for shelter, basically for sustenance. And it's sad that eons ago, the musicians' unions, as they were called at that time, did not foresee the need for an elderly musician to have a pension plan or fund, though many musicians and many unions espoused this, they just never put it into operation.
Old man Petrillo did a lot, but maybe not for that. I remember his name on a lot of those old radio shows.
Yeah!
Eugene C. Petrillo, wasn't it? Something like that?
Him. But Petrillo is also the guy that said a musician should not receive no more than $25 a week. That's that speedball thing.
Yeah, I heard a thud behind us. Somebody's trying to see how quickly they can pitch. How long have you been playing saxophone?
I've been playing saxophone, say, 50 years. Well, about 50 years or more.
Clarinet, too, or just sax?
Played clarinet. I started off with the clarinet.
I see a lot of people who are able to do both. Are they similar? They're both reed instruments, right?
They're both reed instruments, and the fingering is very similar. So if you can play one, you can learn the other very quickly.
One final question. I used to play piano as a kid, but I didn't keep it up. What is it like to stand up in front of a group of people, being a good musician as you are, and look out and see people just enjoying it? It must be the height of fun.
It is. It is the height of your daily enjoyment. I play on the streets every day. The most gratifying thing is you are making people happy. And when they put anything in your little case, they do it because they do it from their heart. So you are making them happy, and that makes you happy.
Well, thank you, and Merry Christmas, sir.
Same to you.
I heard the most wonderful radio station with a great name, KABL, Cable, as in cable car. Carter B. Smith was one of the masters of ceremony here at the bell ringing in Union Square, and I told him how much I liked the radio station.
Well, I'm glad you enjoy it. We have a lot of fun doing it, and it's a kind of a unique format because while we're doing music of the 40s and 50s and 60s, we're not a nostalgia station. We're not involved with the old days. We couldn't care less about the old days. We're focusing in on 1997.
So it's today's events and yesterday's music.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
well put.
You know, you see this increasingly, that guys who are my age or slightly older are getting a chance. Maybe they had 20 years off, like one of your cohorts who was a pilot for a while, to come back. Even some of them are using the old jingles again.
It's radio looks here and looks there and searches around for something that can develop a niche. And, you're talking the San Francisco Bay Area, there's almost 70 radio stations here. So in order to develop an audience share, it's not easy.
How long have you had the format?
The format as it exists is not quite a year old.
And before that, what was cable doing?
Cable was doing this music, but from a satellite service, which doesn't have the personality as much.
Now, you have a couple of people whose names might ring a bell nationally. Jim Lang in the morning.
Very much so. Jim and I worked together for the past 35 years on and off, so we got a good background. And yes, he's well known. He did The Dating Game and a couple of other TV shows.
Let's talk about the matter at hand. There is so much tradition involved with the Salvation Army. That's why I wanted to do my Christmas show here. Can you remind us why this is the place to be at bell ringing time?
Well, the Salvation Army's bell-ringing idea and the kettle actually was founded in San Francisco 106 years ago. And what they did, Dennis, is they set up at the ferry building. At that time, the people still came in by ferry to commute. And the then younger Salvation Army, they were trying to develop some money for the homeless and the deserving of 106 years ago. So he threw a big soup kettle out there and rang a bell to get people's attention. And since that time, the kettle has spread throughout the world.
I guess, of course, every city has its problems, but San Francisco, being a port city, I guess there was indeed that need that you had a lot of people from the beginning of this city who needed help.
Oh, very much so. Of course, as you say, it's endemic with any big city that there are people on the beach, but that very phrase, on the beach, means a sailor who was out of work and came upon hard times. Maybe it was alcohol that caused the problem. So, yeah, things haven't changed. We've always had that.
Carter, what's it feel like to be able to lend your name to something like this? I mean, I've always thought, whether it's a local radio personality, a Hollywood star, or whatever, it's kind of a payback you can give.
That's very much so. I mean, that's what we do. Because we have a little profile, we get out and get involved. Through the course of the past 15 years, this is the 15th year of the celebrity bell ringing thing. Those of us that have been around the city have come out every year, and Charlotte Maillard Schultz, who came up with the idea 15 years ago. It was a great idea then. She's an amazing woman. She could very easily be president of the United States and do a very good job at it. She's an incredible organizer and handles these affairs with a skill and aplomb. It's unbelievable.
There seems to be in San Francisco, maybe it's because it is a confined area, it's on a peninsula, can't grow any bigger, that there is, when I visited here, more a sense of civic unity in this city in many ways than any other city I've been to outside of a smaller Midwestern place like Indianapolis.
Yeah. Well, we work at it. Certainly we work at it. And although I'm a fifth-generation San Franciscan, I don't live here anymore. We moved out. But there is a resurgency coming back into the city, the building of a new ballpark. These are the kinds of things that renew the city, and to get a feeling of homogeneity, if that is a word, it's difficult to engender, but we're sure working on it.
It's homogeneousness, I think. Yeah. Carter, thank you. Our listeners can't tell this, but the sun has come out while you and I have been talking. So,
well, it always does when I talk, Dennis. Merry Christmas.
Same to you, sir. Thank you. Christmas is about charity, it is about giving, but it is also about kids. A bunch of them came up to me and almost knocked me over as I asked them their names.
Sharice, Tiara, Corey, Aaron.
Are you guys having fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A whole lot.
Tell me about some of the characters out here. I don't watch much television, so I don't know who some of these costume people
the
are.
elephant from the Oakland A's. Oh, yeah. We got Animaniacs.
The ones with the tails.
Except it's a little bit weird because they mostly like the little short kids, and they're like all petting their heads and stuff, and then we come up to them and they're like, "Go away! You're."
You want me to pat your head? I can. I used to have hair like that, by the way.
Well, we got the frog from WB.
Yeah. I think
he wouldn't sing and he wouldn't do his little leg dance like this.
Maybe it's not the real frog.
No, I don't think it is. What I think it is, it's a woman.
In a man suit.
What's your name, Eric?
They do that quite often at Disneyland because quite often girls are smaller, that they'll put them in like Goofy, and that's one reason they can't talk, because Goofy's supposed to go, "Hi there!" No, wait a minute, that's Bullwinkle. What's Goofy supposed to sound like?
Hi, David.
But you'd sound funny if you were a woman. I don't do that very well. What do you want for Christmas? What's big this year?
I want a Dodge Viper, a Mercedes,
Whoa.
and...
This is a very sensitive microphone.
Okay.
Try it again.
I want a Dodge Viper, a Mercedes. Please, I need a mansion. I'm little Timmy.
What about you guys?
I want N64 games.
What do you want for Christmas? I'm not Santa, but I'll take some orders.
Crunchy.
Are you?
I want to go to Pogo. I want to go on a date with Taro. Great. You gotta go. I want a Pogo stick.
You gotta go?
Yeah, we gotta go.
Yes, wait.
I want a Nintendo 64.
I
want a bike for Christmas.
I want a PlayStation.
Yeah.
I want some new rollerblades.
New rollerblades. What do you want for Christmas? You want to move these kids out?
Well, I want my real front teeth.
I want to see Santa Claus. I want to see Santa Claus. Say thanks. Let's go.
I want to talk to Terry Lowrey for a moment. She has been seen in local TV for a very, very long time. I asked her what it is, what kind of experience it is for her to come out and help and be recognized and collect money.
Well, I've been associated with the Salvation Army celebrity bell ringing for the 15 years or so that it's been in existence. First time they ever asked me to do it, I thought, this sounds like great fun and a good, worthy cause, and it's been fun ever since. And about 10 years ago, Charlotte Maillard Swig Schultz asked me to take over as chairperson of the bell ringing, and have been involved with it ever since and just love it. It's so much fun. And coming out here and being recognized, well, I use it to my advantage and that of Salvation Army, in that when somebody recognizes me, it's much easier to ask them for money than if I'm just another one of those faces in the crowd ringing a bell.
By the way, I want to thank you for saying chairperson. I was talking to the Salvation Army's Judy Vaughn a moment ago, and she said you were the chair. And I said, well, now, actually, she's not a chair. Because we have chairman, chairwoman, and chairperson, but you hear chair more and more. And I guess maybe I'm showing my age, but it bothers me when I hear that.
Are you a baby boomer?
Yes.
Yes, so am I.
There is such a sense of community here that's interesting. I know few metropolitan areas this big where there's this much cohesion possible. Maybe it's because geographically San Francisco can't get any bigger. There's something about this city that is very special.
This city is really very small in so many ways. It has all the advantages of a big city like New York, and without some of the disadvantages, in that we are compact, we are small in population, we have lots of people who have lived here for generations, and a lot of people who have just come here and can all become one very easily. We just sort of assimilate. And you've really hit it on the head when you say that there's a cohesiveness when it comes to this event. I think people all over the country, and especially here in San Francisco, realize how important Salvation Army is and the work that it does, how important it is, especially at this time of year. And we get media personalities, we get print media people, we get the broadcast media from radio like yourself coming out here ringing bells. We got people from the community, and they all understand what Salvation Army is all about, and they're all really happy to help, and they do it with a smile.
Well, thanks and Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Same to you.
Christmas 1977 in San Francisco. I'm Dennis Daly.